David and I, the Religious Studies Project crew, are in the Wash Bar in Edinburgh on a hideously windy day. I've got an empty pint glass. This is a shame. And we are joined from Bergen by Knut. Hey
Hello.
there. Hi Knut.
Hi there.
How's your weather over there? Is it as intensely awful as we're having?
Yeah, I think there's roads being closed and trees falling down and general mayhem.
Very much the same. We've
But-
had trees falling down, trees which fell in closed roads.
Yeah, but actually, for them to be doing that in Norway, it must actually be pretty bad.
Well,
You're
we're
used
used to it.
So, yeah. You've been writing an article, quite a enormous and important article, and we're featuring it, we're publishing it through the RSP. So this is what the whole purpose of this is to talk to you about it. So tell us about your article, Tim.
Tell us what it is.
Oh, that's a challenge, or is it? Well, back in 2010, so way before there were any site called the Religious Studies Project.
Only one year.
Yeah.
Only one, okay. Wait, this is in internet years, so that's quite a long time. Me and my supervisor, Mikael Stausberg, we sort of don't remember the actual genesis of it, but we wondered about how religious studies was presented online. So when people are Googling for religious studies, what does they do they find? And what does that tell us about what the study of religion is? So that was sort of the idea, and we applied for some money, and we got some money to do sort of data collection of various sites that presented the study of religion. And we went through the data and analyzed it and drawn some conclusions. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the small
I
story.
mean, it sounds like a well. I've had a scan through it, and I'm looking forward to reading it properly. But it's a really important thing actually, because even when we were, the conversations with our sponsor, the BASR, about the images and things that are on their website.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Should we put images of people praying? Should we put images of Buddha statues, or should we try and keep it very abstract so that people don't get drawn into conclusions about is it world religions, is it not?
Well, we made a decision very early on to not have any of those kind of multicultural images and to keep it very typographical in terms of the way we represent the site for that exact reason. Yeah. But, do you want to keep the conclusion you reached as a secret, or would you like to spoil us a little bit?
I do want people to read the article, so I don't want to spoil it, but perhaps if you do.
Yeah, tell us about how you did the research. Like how many websites are we talking? Where are these websites? What were your criteria, and how did you go about sort of cataloging them and analyzing them?
Well, we began to just do the Googling ourselves and sort of list up universities we knew of that had a religious studies department. It was a bit tricky to sort of single out what a religious studies department is sometimes, but
Yeah,
as you perhaps know.
That's a key problem, really.
So I think we write this as well. It's sort of not ad hoc, but some of the selection criteria is hunch based, as McCutcheon would put it, perhaps. But we ended up with 101 texts, namely department presentations and program presentations. Yeah, mostly from the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah. Do you think those 101 sites, like, is that
representative?
well, yeah. Is that how many religious studies departments there actually are, or you know?
No, I think there's more, and we cannot claim statistical representativeness or something like that.
Yes, representality.
but we do think it says something about a general trend or a pattern,
well, it's
if you want.
prominent websites. That's what matters.
But haven't you made or are going to make the code public? Is that right?
Yeah, so we have something called a code book, because we did this in Google Docs, all the research. So we pasted all the text into Google spreadsheets, and so we have this. You will see it yourself, but we have all this text, and from there we coded the texts and made references and stuff like that, and sort of boiled it down and found recurrent patterns and stuff like that. So it was also an exercise in how to sort of co-work. Sorry, my English is losing me. Collaborate, of course, on the internet, even if we were in the same building at times. We even wrote the article in Google Docs, sometimes concurrently. So
something I've done a few times now, and I'm pondering an article on that.
I don't know if I can recommend writing an article in Google Docs with your supervisor, because it's quite intimidating to see your supervisor just churning out words and paragraphs, and you wonder about the next sentence, right?
Than it does about Google Docs. I doubt that would happen in my case. I think I'd be putting in a normal amount of words, and then I'd get a sort of, how do I get into this? How does it work? And,
Yeah. Not naming anything.
how can you unpack this term that you've used in your first sentence?
but yeah, so we are also making the code book accessible. So it's sort of an open data thing, I guess, for the humanities.
Does that mean that other people can add data to it that's not there already? And if so, will that affect the document?
Honestly, I haven't thought about that. We could make it open for editing. The danger is that people won't see what we did.
Yeah.
But perhaps it would be possible to make a individual copy, or make two versions available, or something like that.
Yeah, you end up with a situation where people can go in and they can be like, right, how did they draw these conclusions? Okay, they did this, they did that. Actually, maybe at step 15 they made a sort of false step, and I would have done something different. So yeah,
or even just filling in the data into the table. There may be departments, for instance, Knut said there that it was mostly Northern Hemisphere that they were concentrating on. There may be people in the Southern Hemisphere who are able to fill in some of the blanks in that information, and make it more of a global thing.
And also, some of the data is certainly already outdated, because we did the data collection in partly in 2010, partly in 2011. That being said, university websites doesn't change that often.
Yeah, I would say 2011 is a pretty good date for the last time these were updated, by my experience.
But, and an important thing here is that we didn't go into speculating about the production of the text or the motivation behind them. We just read them as sort of an audience. So if people that are actually authors of these texts feel kind of mistreated or misinterpreted, that's not the idea.
Yeah,
So
you're
it's
looking
not a
at,
wall of shame or something like that.
yeah, you're looking at the representation of a discipline or a field or whatever you want to say to the public, which is very important considering the amount of time that you come across or you're doing theology then, are you? No, yeah, but what's on a website? Obviously, it's a more engaged member of the public who's actually going to look at an RS department website, but that's a main source of information. Very important, particularly for new students who are coming in wanting to do the subject. The website is now going to be the first place that they'll go to.
And I think the social sciences slash humanities have been slow on the uptake about the importance of representation on the internet in general, but religious studies in particular, I think. And I don't know whether that suggests an sort of inherent conservatism in the field or just a lack of engagement with technology. But it's it's an important thing, I think, and something which we're delighted to be able to host in the religious studies project because it relates so much to what our original intention in founding the podcast. So thank you, Knut, and I would.
Yeah, just we're hopeful that this article is going to have the traction it deserves, and hopefully the folks who are developing these web pages will be aware of it. We'll try and do as much as we can to make sure that it gets out there, but that this might actually then lead to some sort of rethinking, perhaps, of the way the discipline is represented.
Or represents itself. Any last words? Knut?
Yeah. So this article, while it's sort of quite long in a way, not necessarily compared to other scholarly articles, we wrote it to spawn some discussion and some debate. So we are looking forward to the discussion in the comment section, and we make some recommendations that may be controversial for some. I don't know. I hope so, sort of. But
Like that.
you can arrest us, and please do if you feel that's necessary. And I also want to add that because we are sort of publishing this long form text at the website, I thought it was a good chance to sort of rethink some of the typography. So perhaps you are irritated by the changes, but I tried to do it to make it more readable at sight. And I will try to make a PDF version as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, yeah. Because ultimately we would like to be producing PDFs of everything that we're doing. We just haven't had a moment to think about it. So
Yeah.
it's a
But actually, I mean, addressing how we lay out and present this material on the internet is an important job in itself. I mean, especially as things become more hyperlinked and involving video introductions and so on and so forth. How we actually present all this material on the web is of enormous importance to the humanities. I mean, PDF, yes, great, because PDF you can print out, it's citable and so on and so forth, but it's not necessarily how people are going to access the material all the time. And in an article which is as dynamic as this, and especially as dynamic as it could be if people take up the challenge of getting involved with the open source data behind it, then creating a method of presenting dynamic text in this way is important in itself.
yeah.
So, shall we say you've heard us ramble about this?
Read the thing and then comment.
Go and read this thing, comment. We look forward to hearing what you've got to say. No, thank you.
And Knut, you know what we always say at the end of the podcast? So on 3.
Oh no!
We'll
Brain freeze.
Yeah, on 3, and we'll all do it, and then we'll see if we can get a Norwegian. Thanks for listening. But thanks for listening in English. 1, 2, 3.
Thanks for listening.
And then the Norwegian.
Takk for at du hørte på.
Whoa! Phenomenal. Thanks, Knut.
Yeah,
We're done.
And we're done. Cut.
I'm off to the loo.